Well, hello and welcome. Here we are back to, gosh, I don't know, what episode are we on right now? Like 5 or 6 or something?
We're getting up there. I think we're
We're
six now.
maybe 6. I don't know.
Joined by the legendary Brandorf and
Yeah,
Paul.
that's right.
I mean,
Brandorf and
Brandon.
Paul.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah, we're getting back into the swing of it after a little break. Yeah, what is it, 2 weeks now after our last episode? So
yeah. So we're back in
yeah,
action to talk about inspiring things
yep,
with the peoples.
completely different people now after 2 weeks. Got new
Uh,
insights, new wisdom to share with everybody.
yeah,
So Brandon, now that we've hyped you up,
yeah, that's right.
what's your insight?
What's my legendary insight?
Yeah, what's going to change the people's lives?
Well, all right.
In one
so
word,
here's,
please.
uh,
No, I'm just kidding.
I could say it in one word, I think.
Oh,
It's
nice.
elderly. I'm
Yeah.
interested in how when folks get older, there's just so many interesting things about them. And it's funny because I was actually thinking about this before the story you told me before we started recording.
Okay.
But I think that it's just so fascinating. You know, there's when folks get older, they've got stories to tell. They've got so
Mhm.
much wisdom in life. You know, sometimes people can get a little cranky, but a lot of times they can still kind of keep a level of fun, and there could be kind of this like, yeah, I've lived my life, like I'm not going to stress out about stuff, like what ifs,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I've always found that really inspiring. And I'll share one funny little story that just a random occurrence with an elderly guy. My
Nice.
wife and I were walking along this pathway along the lake, and all of a sudden this guy came up behind us on his bicycle, and he had like his bicycle and like a little cart behind him that was like playing music. And he was an
Oh,
older
yeah.
guy. I mean, he was probably like in his 70s or something. But he just randomly stops and just like, hey guys, check out my bike. Look at this little rig I've got with my bike. My kids made this for me. Don't you think that's cool? Oh yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to keep biking. But if you guys see me falling off the side of the road, crash somewhere, I've got $25 in this necklace around my neck right here. And that's just like a finder's fee in case I'm dead or whatever, So
Oh my
that'll just
gosh.
be that'll be your payment in case you like have to help me or I don't know, whatever it was.
Take me to the
And
hospital.
he's like, yeah. And it was
Pay
like,
for
see you
your
later.
gas.
And he just kept biking. And it was like, dude, only an old guy could come up and say that. And it's like totally weird and random and a little uncomfortable. But it's like, well, but he's old, so it's funny and it's all okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
You
like
change.
if like me or a young person just randomly stopped and started like saying that to people, it'd be like, that person's crazy and really weird. And I'm worried now. But if it's an old person, it's like, whatever. They can do whatever they want, you know?
Just a Tuesday for him.
Yeah, it's just a Tuesday for that guy,
Yeah.
Nothing out of the ordinary,
Harassing the locals.
you
Yeah.
know?
No, totally. That's funny. Yeah. He's just, like you said, not a care in the world.
Yeah,
Like,
there's like a certain freedom, there's kind of this respect. I think,
hmm
I don't think in all areas of life, but I think a lot of things people kind of give you the benefit of the doubt, or they're kind of just like, oh, what a cute old guy or something.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I get a little jealous of that, where it's like, oh man, one of these days I'll be old and I can just say weird things and people will just think it's cool, or
Yeah.
I'll like,
It's cryptic.
yeah,
Right.
or I'll just have a ton of advice to give people. Like,
Mm.
oh, I know how to do this whole process in life, your thing with your car, your thing with your house, your
Yeah.
marriage, your kids, your college, your career, your whatever it is. It's like, dude, I could just give you advice on that thing all day long. I know all about that, whatever it is, I
Yeah.
think that's pretty inspiring too.
Do you think your problems get bigger as you get older too? So everything else just seems like a little bit less, I don't know, drastic in comparison. So it's
That
like
could be.
after your health starts, after you realize you can't walk as well, or you're facing your own mortality and that problem, then you're like, oh yeah, it wasn't that I didn't have that much anxiety having to go talk to the bank teller or something.
That's a good point. There's probably a lot of stuff that for younger folks we get social anxiety about because maybe we've never done it, or it seems like the biggest thing. Oh, I
hmm
hope people will accept me at school. Like, this is the most important thing in my life, is that like the cheerleader squad will think I'm cool, or I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah, when you're
But
literally like, I might die tomorrow.
yeah, when it's like, oh, I meet with my cardiologist on a regular basis and we talk about how much longer I'll be alive.
Yeah.
You probably don't care about that stuff as much. So yeah, that's probably true.
Tells me how bad my vitals are every time I go.
Yeah.
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 I
That's
could
totally
see that
true.
putting things in perspective. But I think you touched
Yeah.
on a good point of that sorry, changing a setting. Uh that there's kind of a way to, like, there's almost two outcomes to being old, it's like you got the cranky people and like the super laid back and like, generous old people. And like I think a lot of that comes down to like it's almost a manifestation of a life lived.
Mm,
It's like the culmination of however much, time you had on this earth and like what effort you put in. And it's
mm,
just like all the inner stuff that like maybe you could hide more, or you would hide more when you were younger, like finally like coming out and almost blooming or blossoming or something, for better or worse.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's a great point. And it leads me to my question to ask you
mm,
is what do you think you'll love most about yourself when you get old?
mm, okay. Whew.
I know, right?
I would have to say, I hope it's time. Like, I guess I don't imagine I'd be super frantic for time, but like I hope that like I would have time to. It's hard because it's like anything you say about the future, it's like, well, why aren't you implementing it in the present?
Mm,
Because it's like, oh, I just wish I had more time, and when I'm old, then I'll have time. But it's like,
yeah.
if you don't have that mindset now, like you probably won't have it when you're older either, and you'll just be worried about time in some other way or even a similar way. But yeah, like I would, I guess I would hope that like I could be in a like in a financially good state that I could, take the time to do things that aren't like money related, I guess.
Mm,
Like that's what I would look forward to the most. And I don't know that that's a guarantee, but I definitely look forward to like working towards building a stable future, and so I can spend time like without worrying about money and just kind of like either give back or help or um, work on kind of passion projects or write or something. And
mm,
I think that would be my what I would look forward to, even
mm.
if it's not a guarantee. Does that answer? Is that a good enough
Yeah, man.
answer?
That's an answer.
That's a
Whether it's
that,
good or bad, I'll take it.
that's like
There's no good
people.
or bad for that answer. It just is.
That's like people nowadays, like they crap on all like the new movies that are like woke or whatever. They're like, that was the movie of all time. Just leave out any sort of qualifier.
What kind of movie of all time? It just was. Yeah. It's like, okay.
It certainly was an animated feature film.
Oh,
Okay, but
man.
how was it? It was a movie.
Oh
What
man.
about you? What do
Well, I mean,
you
just to
mention?
comment on what you said real quick,
Hmm.
I definitely feel like that is an iconic part of folks when they get older is they have time, they're on their retirement checks, whatever, Social Security, or they made
Good
money or
luck.
whatever it is. Yeah, I know with stocks right now. Anyway, that's a whole nother, that's not inspiring. But but I think that um it is a thing that I've seen very commonly is that when folks get older, they're really available
Yeah.
and they start working with nonprofits or their church or they hang out with their family more or they start babysitting the grandkids, whatever it is. I know
Yep.
for me with my grandparents, they were super available and I could just swing by the house anytime, just had the key to the house, just walk in. My grandma would make me food. They'd watch movies with me. They would take me
Yeah.
places. It's like anytime I wanted to hang out with grandma and grandpa, they were totally free, could make time in their schedule.
That's
And I
cool.
feel like that was really powerful, like for me, and I know it was for a lot of other people because they were available to a lot of people. So I think that
Hmm.
that is a super important and kind of an exciting thing to look forward to in getting old for sure.
Yeah. Just to not feel maybe like as much of the like grind mentality or whatever for like, making your way in the world. Because I think like
Yeah.
almost some of that's almost necessary, I guess, when you're younger, probably, and you should harness it to try to like set yourself up. And so it's probably like advantageous to some extent, as long as you don't let it control you. But you kind of can harness that to get out there and work way more than you maybe should. No, I don't know, but um, yeah. But then maybe like that drive kind of goes away as you get older. You're like, okay, like I don't need to set myself up anymore or whatever, and then you get the availability and stuff. You were mentioning that you wanted to be you wanted to share some wisdom when you're older or something.
Yeah, I feel like, well, I do think that that's an awesome thing about being older, but I think um, what was my original question? Like, what will I love most about myself when I'm older? I think that
Yeah.
it's probably going to be just that sense of confidence. It's like you're so confident in your identity. You know who you are, you know who you've been your whole life. You've been there, you've done that. Like you don't need other people's approval. You don't have the social anxiety. You don't need to be accepted in the group. Like, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to be me. And if people don't like that, who cares? I don't need more friends, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think that confidence to say what you want to say, be who you want to be, knowing what you're capable of as a person. I think that's something that I look forward to. Because when you're young, you look forward to the future of your identity and it's like, who will I become? Right? There's always that question like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, I don't know. I'm just a human. I want to exist. But I think when folks get older, they look back and it's like, I can look back and I know who I've been. I know what I've done.
I
Like,
know I existed.
I know that I existed. Yeah. And I think that that's something about being old that I look forward to. Just total unapologetic confidence and security in your identity. I think that that's a
Yeah.
cool thing.
Yeah. Because it's like you finally have the resume after it's all done.
Mm,
And it's like, I don't know what I need it for, but I got the resume now. I've got all
yeah.
the things I wanted to do in life, hopefully done, or whatever I was destined to do done. You could put it
Yeah.
that way. If you're a little bit less of a free willist.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah. No, that is cool. And like, I don't know, now I'm trying to think, is there like, do you know old people that aren't confident? Or is that
I
just something
think
that's inherent with the age?
No, I think that there are some older folks who can sometimes lack confidence if maybe they've had some big life changes more recently as they got older, or sometimes if they've had just lots of hurts or traumas over the years and they haven't been able to get over some of that stuff, then I think that that can actually weaken their confidence.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you didn't, or if you're maybe like afraid of dying or something, that would probably be
Yeah.
like could be a big toll on your mental
Yeah.
uh, well-being or stability.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. It could either be freeing so that you just like hit the bucket list and do whatever you want in life, or it could be
Yeah,
crippling and like you're trying to preserve your life.
like the
Yeah.
Numenorians.
Like the Numenorians.
We're just
And that's why they trusted Sauron.
is it really going to come back to Rings of Power every week? It might. Uh,
Well, now
yeah,
that the finale's already happened, it'll wear out eventually.
yeah, it'll be old news.
Yeah. Then we'll shift to
Um,
Star Wars. Anyway,
yeah.
man, what inspires you?
For me, um, basically, I've been really inspired by community. Or did we already do that? Shoot,
I
I'm
don't
gonna
think
have to
so.
look through. Just basically doing things together, like as not even big community, but just like even one other person and doing similar things with similar purpose.
Mm.
So
That sounds like a new thing. I don't think we've talked about that.
yeah, all right, cool. I guess if it is, whatever, we'll roll with it. But yeah, like for me, I've just always kind of grown up thinking I was antisocial or like maybe not antisocial, but at least like super introverted or like on the scale of like, oh, you work better alone type stuff, just through comments from other people or just observations from myself. And I think a lot of it was comments from other people, just saying, because I think I have like, I'm pretty opinionated and like whatnot. So it's like, if you're not around other people that can like kind of stand up for themselves, or like also kind of like push back a little bit, it can like be like, I think it is kind of domineering a little bit or something. So like that causes some conflict or some strife or whatever. And then also just the fact that like, um, like I mean, I do have some like introverted qualities where it's like I do like to be alone and recharge, but um, like I don't think necessarily like those were as big in my life as I like perceived them to be from hearing it or from like noticing things. And like you almost have like confirmation bias at that point where you know, it's like you hear something about yourself and then you're like, ooh, start to see it in different places and you're like, ooh, maybe it's that thing, maybe it's that thing, you know. Like someone calls you a narcissist and you like go start looking and you're like, am I being narcissistic right now? You know, it's like that could be it, you know, or whatever it is. And so, but yeah, so then recently I would say like more in the past year, a couple years, like I've started to kind of re-examine that belief or that idea about myself.
Mm.
And I think, um, I think that like, I don't know, like yeah, I am introverted and I do like to recharge, but at the same time, like I think a lot of my best work or my best like best motivation and like flow actually comes from doing things with other people.
Mm.
And I think that's the case for probably most people. And there's different levels of like hurt or, um, you know, mm, maybe not, maybe, yeah, like hurt and like obstacles or blockages that like make that not the case where like working with people is the best. But, you know, because you might have something like you mentioned, like social anxiety or whatnot, where it's like it makes it difficult to work with people or be, you know, completely yourself or honest around other people. So it's like that can be something that would kind of like make you take a step back and be like, well, I want to work alone because, you know, people are scary. And so,
Mm.
um, but I know I've just found for myself that it's been very like when you take all the negative beliefs away around it, it's like, wow, some of my best work and best, you know, stuff is with like collaboration basically, or, you know, like this podcast is a great example of it. It's like doing something with somebody you like, that you're both on the same page, you know, you're both trying to like put your best forward and do something cool. And it's like,
Mm.
dude, like the time flies by, you know, it doesn't feel like work. It's very rewarding. It's cool to share with people. Like I'm proud of it. And so it's, whereas like when I'm trying to work alone, a lot of times like I am getting like distracted or I'm not fully engaged or not present or, uh, you know, and I'm going to continue the rant for a little bit if that's cool.
Go for it, man.
um, it's interesting because you see, and I don't think everybody's like, you know, very social or needs to like be in a social environment to thrive. I think there are some, you know, like probably some of those like random scientists in the 1600s that would just lock themselves in away in a laboratory and, you know, come out 5 days later without having eaten or slept and like,
Right.
huzzah, you know, I got the thing. But, you know, so I think there is like, you know, and even more introverted people that like truly just want to be alone, or, you know, the people that go live in Alaska for 6 months out of the year in a cabin. It's like, I think for them, like that certainly works. But I think for the majority of the people, like, like good, healthy collaboration is actually where like people want to be, and actually helps and helps like with motivation and like being inspired and bouncing ideas off each other, and actually like creates something more than the sum of their parts. And so um I know for myself it's like, again, it's, you know, bouncing off ideas off people, it's like instantly a way to improve at something, or, you know, get some insight or feedback that you wouldn't have otherwise. And for me, since I like tend to thrive off new ideas like that, it's hard to be like have a bunch of new ideas when you're just by yourself, you know. It's like for me the closest approximation is probably the internet, which is why I spend so much time online, because it's like always giving me new ideas and inspiration. But it's, I don't think it can be necessarily like a perfect substitute for like another person, especially like a driven and intelligent person too. So like yourself, Brandon.
Yeah, that was me, in case anybody didn't notice. No, I appreciate it. I love collaborating with you too, and doing this podcast is a fun way to do that. But do
Yeah.
you feel like the main thing you gain from collaboration is ideas, or is there anything else that you kind of gain from the community collaboration?
Mm. Yeah, I would say actually ideas are probably secondary. I think
Hmm.
I would have said that was the primary thing, I think, before, but for me it's actually like motivation, or like a sort of like drive I get from it. Because it's if I'm I mean, I'm sure you've probably noticed if you do something for somebody else, it's like you're much more likely to do it than if you do it for yourself, right?
Mm.
It's like if
Yeah.
you need to write up a document for somebody, you're like, oh yeah, I'll have it to you tomorrow. And it's like, I finished a little early and I added an extra paragraph, you know? But then it's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to write a page for myself for my story. It's like 2 days later and they're like, oh, I should probably finish that. I've only done half, you know? Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Dude, I know exactly what you mean whenever it comes to like business marketing, because I've read so many
Hmm.
books about business marketing, and with any kind of small business thing I try to do, it's like, I just don't know how to market this thing. But if I have any friend who like randomly owns a business and they're like, yeah, I'm just trying to really lock down on my marketing plan. It's like, dude, tell me the plan. Let's write it up. Here's what you do. Okay, you're going to put money into this and this and this, and we're going to get at least this many customers who will come back, and this is how we're going to figure out, there's our 6-month plan right here, dude. And I'm like so
Foolproof.
confident about it. Yeah, it's like it's foolproof. Like, you are going to be a success. And then when it's like I go home and I go back to me and it's like I'm hopeless. Yeah, I know what you mean, dude. There's something about doing stuff for other people that totally motivates you, gets your brain thinking.
Yeah, which is why I had that idea for the for like the creative community thing. I think I remember telling you about that a while back, but basically where instead of working for yourself, everybody's works for each other. Because if you're motivated working for someone else and they're motivated working for you, you both put in like good effort and it should be equal, right? Like, you know, it's like, it's perfect. Someone else writes your story and you write theirs.
That's
And
right.
it's
Yeah.
like, you'll both be highly motivated. Because it's like,
Yeah.
it's only bad when it's your idea that you have to work on.
I
You just
mean,
work. Go ahead.
yeah, no, it's totally like if I was suffering from writer's block and I gave my story to somebody else and was like, I don't know where to go with this, you finish it and just come up with something. The other
Yeah.
person would be like, ooh, this is like, if you did that for me, I would be like, ooh, this is exciting. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna like say whatever and have fun, and I don't know, I'll do something. Like,
There's no
I would
stakes.
be, yeah, there's no stakes. Like, it's not gonna hurt my ego, like whatever, dude. And I feel like you totally have fun with that, you know?
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
if you like laid out some plot plot points for him or something, you know, just like, okay, I just need this and this character to be here at the end and this character to be dead and find out a way to do it. He's like, ooh, okay, start scheming.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. So that's what that was my ingenious idea, was just have everybody work for each other, or at least partially work for each other, and then you go back to your story and you're like, you know, or you would go back to your whatever your creative project is, you would see what someone else did to it, and it would like hopefully inspire you if you were open-minded, I would think. And you'd be like, oh, they did that with that character, that's interesting. Now I got to like work to bring them back to where I want them.
Yeah.
and then they would like, you would hand it off another time, and then they would make some tweaks and alterations, and you'd be like, oh, interesting. Which I think is actually like how a lot of good movies get made, you know, because you see directors and stuff like talk about kind of the process, and like, I mean, there is controlling directors, but I think a lot of like the really good directors are the ones that like see, like, let the teams, you know, that work on these big projects kind of like do what they do best and flourish and like add ideas and stuff, you know, which again is like part of the collaborative process, when you can like really respect someone else's input and like, you know, because I think you run like in that instance, especially, like, you can kind of think you have like a complete vision, I guess, but I think the more complex something is, the more you realize that you don't have the complete vision, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know if do you experience that in your creative stuff, where it's like,
Yeah.
like before you actually sit down to work on something, you're like, oh, I got it all figured out. And then you go to sit down to work on it, and then it's like completely different. You're like, ooh, I only have like 5% of this figured out.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, in my mind, it's almost like when you're building a house or you're trying to make a project, you think to yourself like, okay, the house is going to be like this much square feet, and we're going to have these kinds of rooms, and we're going to paint the outside yellow and the door will be red, and that's my house. And it's like, dude, you just figured out like 2% of what your house was, you know?
I forgot what kind of plumbing I was going to use in it.
Oh, plumbing. Oh, yeah. I didn't think about plumbing. How much am I going to bury it down? What's the route of the plumbing? What kind of metal of the plumbing? How wide are the pipes going to be? But, you know, it's like all these weird details that it's like you have to make detailed. All of that. Yeah. Like I think a lot of times when I write, when I get into like a creative writing process, I think of like a couple big points in the story and like plot twists or different things. And it's like, yeah, I really want to write this. Okay, now I've got to write like a bunch of stuff to get from point A to point B. So what's all this like weird stuff in between? Now I have to make up a new thing. You know?
Yeah, totally. And like, I think, you know, when you hand off some of that process to somebody else, it's like, I think it's like great because, you know, it's like then you get all these like little surprises or something, you know. It's like, I think if you're trying to tell a compelling story by yourself, unless you're Tolkien, then like you know, I'm sure he had input, you know, from people. He's part of the Inklings, so obviously he's getting input as well, you know. And people, I'm pretty sure he sent off his stuff like to other writers to get critiqued, you know. And
probably,
like, you know, I think didn't like him and C.S. Lewis have some big feud about like, or I think Tolkien thought something in C.S. Lewis's stuff was dumb, or
I think that Tolkien didn't like it that C.S. Lewis was putting so much of his belief system into his writing. Yeah. I think Tolkien felt like you should just write whatever you want to write, and then people should like pull the principles out of it on their own and create their own like moral ideas of your writing. And I think C.S. Lewis was like, no, you should specifically like direct people to whatever moral lesson you're trying to teach them through your writing. Yeah. I know they had a conflict on that type of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're obviously like collaborating, and I guess that's a perfect example of that, you know, where it's like, you know, even Tolkien wasn't an island, you know, like there's obviously collaboration and people reviewing each other's work and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm sure so, but for me, I think, so to wrap this all up to your initial question on that was, you were saying, you know, like, well, is it like getting new ideas or something? Is that like the best thing about collaboration? And I think for me, it's actually more of like a motivation thing. Like it's almost like a hack or something to, I don't know, like it doesn't feel as daunting, like doing something with somebody else. And it doesn't feel, it's like, you know, because you can kind of split the work, or you can, you know, like the other person can kind of pick up slack when you're not, you know, totally with it, or, you know, there's kind of a nice little like camaraderie there. And so I think for me, that's like the biggest thing, is actually just finding, I don't know, like not being drained. And maybe it's because like I know someone's relying on me a little bit, and maybe that's like appealing in some way, or like, or maybe something's expected of me at that point, you know. It's like, if it's I guess maybe some people can hold themselves more accountable, but like for me, I feel accountable to other people a lot of times. And so like when there's a situation that involves multiple people, then like I hold myself more accountable and it's easier or something. But yeah, for you, do you find any changes when you like do something alone versus collaborating with people?
Yeah, I think that when I do something with other people, you know, I definitely agree with you on the motivation part. I think it does depend what kind of project I'm trying to do, because there are times when I feel like I have the idea and I need to get my idea out, but then maybe I'm stuck on the idea at a certain point later, and then I need somebody to help me when I get stuck on something. But I don't know. I mean, even today, I collaborated with a colleague of mine at work, and she had a great solution to a problem that I was encompassing. And then later today, this afternoon, it was like I did exactly her advice and it worked perfectly. And it was like, oh my gosh, that was so great. I'm glad that I work with other people, you know? Whereas if I was just working alone, it would have been like search through Google, maybe try to have what's the best way to do this. There's 10 different options. Okay, I'm going to read a book about it. The book says you can
Yeah.
do it this way. Now I try it. And it was like, oh, here's a person who's already been doing this for years and knows exactly how to do it. Boom, it worked. Easy.
Yeah.
That was like, you could pay money for that, you know? So,
Which even like a book or the internet is still like kind of a form of community because someone had to write it and
right.
someone had to like put their ideas out there. It's just like a uh less direct, way of being with somebody or whatever. That
Yeah.
do you feel more motivated and stuff when like because I don't know, I guess because there's also like I guess maybe I don't know, maybe you can weigh in on this. It's like it adds like a little bit more friction to work with somebody else, but then it's also like a little bit more, motivating, like we've been saying. Do you find like that ever outweighs like the motivation, like the friction of working with somebody else or like trying to be on the same page?
Right. Yeah. I think that that comes down to people's expertise and people's personalities. If you work with somebody who has a personality and they're just going to really try to work differently from you, and you guys are going
Yeah.
to be like not on the same page and how you communicate or how you want to get the project done or whatever, then I think that that can definitely hurt the project and be really fatiguing
Yeah.
and draining. I think that if somebody is super good at what they do, then aside from the personality aspect, if they're just really good at doing their job and you're really good at doing your job, and you both can understand that you got different personalities, but you can respect that like you're super good at working the cash register line at the grocery store and I'm really good at like stocking the shelves. I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
guys can like try to make that work, then I think that that can create a
Yeah.
mutual respect that can overcome the personality differences, And I
Hmm.
even think vice versa. Like if you really click with the person you're working with, you can potentially, forgive some of the lack of their expertise and be willing to like work with them just because they're such a great person to work with.
Yeah. And usually those kind of people will be self-motivated and like, willing to learn as well. If you're like, got a good character, usually that goes with being willing to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the trick is then finding those people, that you work well with, or because I think that is half the battle is, like you said, you can't really just necessarily work with anybody, but once you find somebody that's like actually like that, then it's like, oh, okay, like it makes collaborating easy or, you know, like much more appealing. How do you,
Yeah.
is there a way you find those people in your life?
Gosh, yeah. How do I find people who want to collaborate?
Do you just wait for them
I
to
feel
stumble into your life?
I feel like you just have to tell people what you're doing in
Mm,
life, and if people think it's interesting, then you can ask them if they're willing to help you.
I think that's a
You
great
know,
idea. Yeah.
like I think people try to do things a lot. They try to, you know, do a hobby or something in their career, or they want to get educated, or they want to try to make more money or friends or move somewhere or whatever it is. And they just think that they'll keep it to themselves. And it's like, I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm trying to become like a master of
Mm,
Kung Fu. And then once I become a master of Kung Fu, then I'll tell people that I am a master of Kung Fu. But I'm not going to tell people that I'm like only learning. That's embarrassing. Like I
yeah.
want to just jump out of the bushes and be like, master Shifu guy. But I think that if you tell people that's like, yeah, dude, I suck at karate and all that stuff, but I'm like trying to learn kung fu and I just started taking lessons and I'm like
Eh,
kind of getting into it. Then somebody
that's how
else
you
will be
find your
like,
sensei.
yeah, it's like, dude, I'm a master of kung fu and I learned from this really great guy. You should go learn from that dude, or watch these
Yeah.
videos or this book or whatever. That's where
Yeah.
you like get the collaboration because you tell people, here's what I'm trying to do
Yeah.
and I'm available for help if you want to try to help me.
I think that's a
And
super
then,
important detail. Yeah. Is
yeah,
like not being super private with it and actually like making, because that's what everyone wants anyway, is to be known, but then no one says anything about themselves. So it's like, or anything of like, not everybody, but a lot of people won't say like very deep things about themselves or like, their inner desires because it's like vulnerable. So, it takes like that amount of vulnerability to like actually put yourself out there to then, like you said, get those people coming by like to make connections with, and then like help you on your journey, and all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
don't hide it away. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think it just takes that vulnerability. Don't hide away your struggles. You don't have to be embarrassed by trying to do whatever your project is in life or whatever your goal is. You can
Yeah.
just be open about it, admit where you're currently at in life, and then ask people if they know any way to help you. And I like, if there's something that I know a lot about or I'm good at, and somebody were to ask me, like, dude, I'm trying to do this thing and like I'm trying to figure it out. Do you know any solutions to that? It would make me excited to
Mm.
tell them how to fix that problem.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I know exactly I've driven that car for 10 years. I know exactly how that car works.
Yeah.
Used to play that sport. I used to have that career. Like, let me tell you everything you need to know about that, dude. I'd love to
Yeah.
share.
There's
Like,
this expectation that it would like be a burden to ask somebody.
yeah,
But it's like, and it sounds like in your case, it wouldn't be a burden.
yeah.
Yeah. Because that's how I felt like with the like changing my brakes today at my boss. It was like,
Oh, right.
I was like, oh man, like this is going to be like a huge burden for him. It's like he's got to take an hour out of his day. Like, I mean, it's not super busy at work, but like, he's going to take an hour out of his day to go help me, like what a burden. But he's like all in there getting like super stoked. He's like, actually interested instead of just watching YouTube bored or something. He's like actually engaged, and like, we're having dialogue, and it's like pretty rewarding. And it's like, wow, okay. Like there's actually something to that where it's like, it wasn't even a burden. It was actually like a good thing for him. Like I tried to like give him some money or buy him a coffee or something. He's like, no, 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 it's all good, man. Like,
Mm,
got you taken care of, and it was fun, and yeah, we're good. It's like,
yeah.
all right, like, I'll take that all day. So yeah, and then, but I think going up to those people, there's like on my end, there's an expectation that, just because I hate it or wouldn't want to do it on my own, that it's like a burden for somebody else. Whereas like that might not even be the case and might be a bad assumption.
Mhm.
So, and I think another point too, where I was like kind of talking about where, you have to find the right person or whatever. It's like when I was younger, I tried to force it too much. Like I would have
Mhm.
my vision and I'd have my idea, and I'm like, I'm just going to find the person I like, whether they're interested in this thing or not. We're going to make this happen, whether
Yeah.
it's like music or a band or whatever, like business idea. I remember doing that a couple times, and it was just like always blew up in my face because I would just be like, I don't know. I wanted to like start a business so bad, so I'd just like pick someone random, like I don't know. I think Zach Beveridge at one point,
Oh, yeah.
and I just like was like, let's go out to lunch. I got like let's start brainstorming business stuff. Let's come up with ideas and all this stuff. And he's just like a good guy and like agreeable. So he just like a nice pleasant person. So he's like, yeah, sure, you know. But it's like he doesn't have the drive to like start a business. So, like he comes up with a few ideas or whatever. And, like I'm over there brainstorming, pouring my heart and soul into it, and
Yeah.
just like totally not evenly matched. But it's like wanted it so bad that like, tried to force it where it shouldn't have been forced. And so I think, but I think like you said, if you put yourself out there, then you're going to find the person that's also equally into whatever you're into, that karate or that thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yes, I mean, yeah. Sounds like, yeah, because I'm trying to like, I don't know. There's like definitely ways I think you can increase your chances, but it's like it's probably like falling in love. You can never like force it. You can't
Mm.
like make it what you want it.
Wow. Only parents can force love on their children in arranged marriages. No, yeah, it's, we were talking about just summarizing some of what we were talking about here. It's like you can get a lot of motivation out of collaboration. You can get a lot of new ideas. You can maybe overcome fears and you can accomplish more together.
Yeah.
Finding a person to collaborate with, somebody who's good at what they do, has a personality that works, and you guys can both do stuff together.
Yeah. Finding that compatibility.
Yeah, you gotta
What?
be open to tell people that you need help. Talk about it with people. What were you gonna say?
Well, and I was kind of saying, and not feeling like guilty for asking people for help or whatever.
Mm.
Because like for you, it's like when someone, so say in your instance, like someone asks you about that business stuff or that sport or whatever, and you're like totally jazzed to help them. It sounds you know, like that's like if you're doing that in like a business partnership or whatever, it's like that would actually be kind of cool because it sounds like you're almost getting energy or like, drive from that, like helping somebody out in a way that like they might not be competent in.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, let me show you. And then it's like, before you know it, you've already got a bunch of work done. It's like, oh, cool. Like almost accidentally happened or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's true. I need, if people could just ask me for my help on their project, but secretly their project was my project, then I would get all my projects done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Probably have it done by the end of the year. Huh. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so that we can use the collaboration as a teaser for, hopefully we can get some more people on the podcast.
That's right. I know. We're chatting with people saying, hey, we got this podcast thing and we need help with other people to come join us. So come collaborate. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Also,
so
if there's anybody listening, we'll do a preliminary interview with you and see if you're guest material or not.
But that doesn't include you, Mom. I mean, maybe.
Little gatekeeping. You know who you are. No, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway.
On that note,
dude. Yeah.
Wrap it up, huh?
Yeah, dude. Collaboration, community, old people, elderly. When you get old. Yeah, I mean, some good stuff.
Who's more together than old people? I mean, they put them all in one home. They all go crowd up the pickleball courts, like there's always a flock of old people around.
A flock. Oh my gosh. I mean, I literally was at the gym earlier and there were like 5 old dudes all working out together on the same little machines, and like one dude would be working out and then the other 3 would just be standing around talking, and then the one guy was done. And anyway, it's real. It's a real
That's
thing.
So you can have 10 minutes between reps. I know that secret.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, folks. And,
that's right.
See you next week.
Yep.
All right, bye.
Au revoir.